what we usually refer to as ChatGPT wrappers tends to simplify a rather intricate system and dismiss the difficulty of making AI practical. Because in the process of building these types of systems, not only do you need to find a way to save yourself the most money, but also charge people as much money as possible. I mean, make sure LLM don't forget or execute unwanted things while being fed hundreds of other instructions by both the system and the user. So today, let's look at this new fancy buzzword called context engineering, which is the art of filling the context window with just the right information for LLMs. This can include giving the right instructions, explanations, tool to use, RAG, multimodal data, few shot examples, history compacting, summarization, and more, as there is too little room for errors if you want LLMs to have the optimal performance. But before we dive into it, if you have ever felt like ChatGPT sometimes jumps between mid and magic, there's actually a way to make your prompt engineering much more consistent. In this HubSpot's free resource called Advanced ChatGPT Prompt Engineering from Basic to Expert in 7 days, you will learn how to stop getting mediocre AI outputs and start getting reliable and professional results every time. So in one focused week, you will learn how to have AI to give you well-engineered outputs. It starts with a clean zero-shot formula that upgrades vague prompts into reliable results, then moves into frameworks like Roses so you're designing systems, not throwing questions at the wall. My favorite section is how it teaches you how to calibrate properly with few-shot examples and make thinking explicit with chain of thought. On top of utilizing another framework called the Reason framework, so complex tasks become auditable and consistent. They also discuss this lockdown structure called the Format framework, as it can cut work by helping you understand how to specify exactly what the outputs should look like. With the addition of teaching you how to add error resistance and biomitigation systems, the model results would stay accurate, scoped, and balanced even on tricky subjects. By the end, you will have modular templates, reusable process, and format modules, with you being able to design your own signature framework and iterate using the improved cycle backed by a clean performance metric. So if you're ready to step up your work efficiency with AI, check it out using a link down in the description, and thank you HubSpot for sponsoring this video. Anyways, if prompt engineering is finding the best prompt to extract the best performance out of an LLM from a user, context engineering would ultimately be providing the best system context that can be passed into LLMs to get the best performance for the user. And whether the LLM wrapper is good or not solely relies on how the devs incorporate the context. For a basic chatbot, this is relatively simple. You have a dialogue, then just pass the entire history into the context and feed it to the LLMs. But when it comes to what ChatGPT can do now, like inputting images, having an interactive canvas, search the web, or perform its latest function, agent mode, building the right context for the AI to have the best performance makes it even more difficult, which I have my share of humbling experience while building findmypapers.ai. But of course, what I have experienced is definitely too shallow to share with you all, so I'll actually be referring to a few developer blogs mainly from Manus, Chroma, and Cognition, which I found highly resonating. Starting with arguably the most important idea of context engineering being, how do you be as efficient as possible? Because in reality, a consumer only cares about how cheap your service would cost and how long it would take. So besides the model that is being used to wrap your service, there is no other thing that will determine both your speed and your cost than the KV cache. But what is a KV cache? So as the model reads every new token, it calculates the attention value, which will numerically show the relationship of a token to all other existing tokens that it has already read. After proceeding every token, it can be stored within something called a KV cache and be reused as long as all the previous tokens are unchanged. So on a multi-turn conversation, only the new dialogues are needed for extra processing, while the KV cache of the older context can just be reused for the LLM to generate an answer. And the difference between using and not using the KV cache is huge. If you don't have the KV cache, every new turn of the conversation will snowball the cost. So if your first conversation with the LLM has 5,000 tokens in total and your next turn of conversation has also 5,000 tokens, you would be charged 15,000 worth of tokens generated. But if the KV cache is used and achieved what people call a cache hit, the GPUs wouldn't have to spend the time of recalculating the attention for the first conversations. The model servers would usually charge you 1/10 of the price for the cache hit tokens. So it would more likely to cost the price of 10,500 tokens instead. The cost also scales pretty crazy without hitting the KV cache. For example, a third conversation with 5,000 tokens would cost 30,000 tokens, while hitting KV cache would only cost around 16,000 tokens, which means the longer you use while reusing KV cache, the more money you would save. But the specific KV cache policy may differ between API providers along with different discounts and constraints. And sometimes your API services wouldn't automatically have cache enabled or require you to use the same GPU session, which will prevent you from hitting the KV cache. You have to make sure it'll hit on the hardware side of things. So the majority of the context engineering philosophy is surrounded by the idea of hitting the KV cache, which brings us to the first tip from Manus AI's developer blog: design around KV cache. For example, there are cases, especially like AI agents, where supplying the model the current time is extremely tempting. But if you really think about it, would there be any actual usefulness to that? So in case where you want to reuse the system prompt, but you have a variable like time that is precise down to the seconds, which you built into the context, then your KV cache would definitely not hit. And the solution for this is pretty straightforward. Just make your context append only, while avoiding things like modifying previous actions or content. But what if you really do need to have the time down to seconds in the prefix, or what if the user really want to use a specific tool that dynamically updates the prefix? Is there really no way out? Well, Manus proposed a pretty interesting idea where you mask the context instead of removing them that would indirectly let you achieve this. More specifically, in agentic applications where you have a bunch of tools in the context that lets the user or the agents to choose from, you can really keep all the tools in the context once a tool is picked, as it'll distract the LLM, right? But you also can't dynamically pick the tools either, as that will destroy the KV cache. So they would preserve the complete tool definitions in its context and have the inference layer ignore those unrelated actions by zeroing out the logics for those tools. For example, let's say you give your agent has the access to both browser navigate, browser click, shell execute, and database query tools. Instead of removing the shell and database tools when the user asks to browse Google, you keep all 4 tool definitions in context but mask the database and shell prefix during logic processing. So when the model generates the tool call, it can only complete with navigate or click. It'll never accidentally hit the other actions, and you don't even need to touch the cached context. All you need to do is have a naming convention to support this pattern and utilize token logics to constrain the actions. This is available for OpenAI's API under the logic bias parameter, which you can pass in. You can also use the same technique to handle your timestamp problem. Let's say you really need that timestamp to the second functionality, then instead of putting variable timestamps in your system prompt, you can create a get current time tool that's always available, and the tool itself only appends the context instead of modifying them, saving you a bit of KV cache. Which brings us to the next part of context engineering, designing AI agents. If appending is the most budget efficient, how about the cool new multi-agents that do things for you in parallel? Well, actually, other than multi-agent being less budget efficient, a true parallel multi-agent is just not an ideal setup to do performance-wise. From the current most valuable company that is focusing on making agentic software engineers, Cognition, they published a blog about their insights on how to not build a multi-agent system. Because once a sub-agent stops sharing the same context, miscommunication would start to occur. In actual software development, there are many ways to implement the same thing, and the interpretation may also be different even if sub-goals themselves seem pretty clear-cut. From small things like which type of yellow you are using for the background to big design choices like how the classes are defined. But if you have a parallel multi-agent setup, both sub-agents cannot see what each other are doing, so it's easy to end up being inconsistent. Well, what if we just have a third model to figure things out then? That is of course the ideal solution. Like for humans, we would have one person or like one senior that would take the key decisions, right? However, the capabilities of AI in 2025 so far has not shown that this is possible. The system it creates would be too fragile, as stated by Cognition devs. So the old and reliable solution of having a single continuous context window where the agent does subtasks one by one may still be the best choice, at least in 2025. The only reason that you would create sub-agents to run in parallel right now like Claude Code is if there's a small task that does not need to remain in the context history of the main agent, which can help you save some context space. But here comes another problem. If an agent performs many different actions, access web pages, read PDFs, and have a chain of thought for a subtask, the context would rot, as we already know the more we fill up the context window, the worse the model would perform. So Manus AI proposed a simple way to sidestep this problem, which is to use a to-do list or generate a summary as the agent progresses. They refer to this as attention manipulation, because by always updating a to-do list, the LLM automatically recites the tasks it needs to perform, preventing the model forgetting the earlier content or the goals it planned as the context window is being filled up. There's also another company called Chroma that has published a more detailed blog outlining the more precise effects of context rot, showing the problems context windows would have under a more practical setting. The experiment setup is like this. They hide a questions answer, aka a needle, within a haystack that is just a long passage, then they ask the LLM about the question to see if it can find the answer. But existing LLMs can already ace this setup pretty easily, so they introduce a small variation that is adding a distraction distractor. This distractor may look similar to the needle, but is actually semantically different. And by adding a single distractor, it reduces the performance by quite a bit. But what's really destructive is when there are 4 other distractors. The performance would tank even more across the board, and the more tokens there are, the worse it gets. And this is a more devastating problem for agentic applications because you often would send an LLM to perform repeated tasks like regenerating the to-do list, for example. And since LLMs are insanely good at in-context learning, this would also become a double-edged sword once it needs to perform repetitive tasks or make similar decisions. A good example of this is reviewing a batch of resumes. When all the content looks the same, the agent might repeat actions and accidentally falls into a rhythm. This would create a drift, overgeneralization, or sometimes hallucination, so pretty much accidentally getting few-shotted by yourself. To prevent that, you either use a context with a clean slate or just introduce some variations or randomness, like having it read resumes in different ways every 1 or 2 times. But if a process genuinely made a mistake, it is usually better to keep it in the context and retry instead of creating a completely new attempt. As the researchers at Manus found that when the model sees a failed action, it results in a useful observation which will help update its internal beliefs, creating something called error recovery, which actually reduces the chance of repeating the same mistake. And lastly, if you can fill up the context window as little as possible, it'll always be a win. A great way to achieve this is utilizing the external storage. If you need to read a website, well, after reading it, replace the context with a link, a summary, and the tool used, which can save quite a lot of context window. When the application needs it later on, it can just check the summary instead of storing all the extra web data. Pretty similar to the idea of a modular sub-agent Claude Code uses, which we talked about. And this will save you a lot of tokens if the agent or the application you make has a multi-turn function, because the amount of tokens that a large document has is not a joke. So yeah, that's a wrap on wrapping LLMs. I highly suggest reading the original blogs if you want to learn more in depth about context engineering. And definitely check out my attempt at context engineering, aka findmypapers.ai. You can find AI papers semantically and deploy scouts to keep yourself on tap for the latest research paper published by your favorite institutions. And thank you guys for watching. A big shout out to Ângelo Lescelius, Chris LeDoux, Deagan, Nous Research, Clayton, Robert Zawiasa, Louis Muck, Ben Shaener, Marcelo Ferraria, Zane Sheep, Poof and Nous, DX Research Group, and many others that support me through Patreon or YouTube. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't, and I'll see y'all in the next one.